I just don't even know why there aren't uprisings all over the country. Maybe there will be.
People need to start taking to the streets. This is a dictator.
You know, there needs to be unrest in the streets for as long as there's unrest in our lives.
Show me where it says that protests are supposed to be polite and peaceful.
And if you see anybody from that cabinet in a restaurant, in a department store, at a gasoline station, you get out and you create a crowd. And you push back on them.
While the dishonest left-wing media clutches their pearls over January 6th, we haven't forgotten the violence that same media has instigated over recent years. Joining me now is editor-at-large for The Post-Millennial and best-selling author of Unmasked, Andy Ngo. Also joining us is senior policy analyst for the Independent Women's Forum and Newsmax columnist Patrice Lee Onwuka. Welcome to you both. Patrice, compare what we just saw from the socialists there to how Trump spoke to the protesters a year ago today in Washington.
Oh, they're like night and day. It's so interesting to go back and replay President Trump's comments where he said, go and march and do so peacefully to the Capitol. That's not what we heard from, members of Congress who were calling for people not just inciting violence, but calling for them to disrupt the everyday lives of regular people, particularly those who they disagree with, but just be disruptive across the board. This kind of language was not. It was acceptable under the Trump administration, but suddenly, after January 6th, it suddenly is distasteful and it's wrong on their part. And I think regular Americans, we recognize that wrong is wrong no matter what side of the aisle you're on. And you also have to distinguish between someone who's saying march peacefully versus someone who's saying, oh, disrupt them. Don't give them peace. Don't let them rest and don't let them settle.
Yeah, let me just let folks at home, too, compare what you saw from the left-wing extremists, their calls for violence, and what President Trump was doing on that day. Watch.
I know that everyone here will soon be marching over to the Capitol building to peacefully and patriotically make your voices heard.
See, Andy, unless you're watching the Chris Salcedo show, you don't see that. Axios has joined the ranks of other fake journalists by referring to a group of people who have only been charged with vandalism or trespassing as, quote, insurrectionists. The conduct of the press has been just as egregious as that of the Socialist Democrats. Condemning trespassers and vandals while excusing left-wing violence, arson, and looting. It's beyond the pale, is it not?
Absolutely. So we've had now a year of investigations by the federal authorities, and if there was evidence of organized plans for an insurrection or sedition, those charges would have come, and they didn't. So for journalists to continue to refer to it as an insurrection is factually inaccurate. And so, and that matters because rewind over 4 years ago, after Trump was elected in 2016, the people on the left in the Democratic establishment and those in the liberal mainstream media peddled what turned out to be fake evidence about Trump's collusion with Russian government or Putin or the Kremlin. And so, for them now to give all these speeches about how the right and Republicans have been attacking democracy literally and in other ways, they should really be looking at themselves. And you're repeating my other guess. Yep. It's not about which side is worse than the other. It's about looking at what actually happened.
Well, Patrice, let me talk about how this is all playing in the rest of the country. I know that everybody inside the Beltway, the media, and crying Kinzinger and Liz Cheney and all the socialists are all obsessing over this. But do you think Americans are trying to make this a holiday just like the Democrats are?
No. I've been watching coverage on different networks, and I've been appalled to hear language that tries to turn today into September 11th. There has been greater lead up on certain networks over the past few days to today than there was last year on the 20th anniversary of 9/11. When we lost over 4,000 souls to the murder of terrorists who hate our democracy, our way of life, our way of thinking, the freedoms and the prosperity that we enjoy. But if you go to certain networks today, you would think that that's what we had 1 year ago. And I think it's a convenient distraction from the rising gas prices, from inflation that's hit, what, a 39, 40-year high, from all of the challenges, rising crime that are facing Americans on a day-to-day basis. So no. I think people will say, wow, yeah, it's been a year. What happened was terrible. And yeah, I hope people who broke the law actually are held accountable and responsible. But I need to fill my car to go to work tomorrow. I need to put milk in my baby's bottles. How am I doing that? And what is this administration doing to alleviate some of the fiscal pain that we're feeling?
Yeah, big nothing. Andy, you've been a victim of violent abuse at the hands of Socialist Democrats in BLM and Antifa. Did Liz Cheney or Crying Kinsinger ever reach out to you pledging to stop this organized terrorism, to form a committee or to do an investigation? Have they ever reached out to you?
I've been assaulted on several occasions by Antifa extremists, and no Democrats have ever reached out to express any support for me. Certainly, Liz Cheney was not a Republican who did. Several other lawmakers in the GOP did, however. I think what this demonstrates, but more at an aggregate level, is that violence that is carried out, political violence that's carried out by the left is condoned, and people look away because when Trump was inaugurated in 2017, there were mobs of Antifa, mobs of leftists who cheered them on, who attacked parts of DC, and that was treated as a righteous protest. And so I'm not excusing what happened on the 6th of January, but if you strip away the politics and you look at the actions, right, political violence, assault on law enforcement, etc., why does it matter the politics of the individual who are doing it if we're looking at the act itself? And the truth is, the
actions. The actions and the rule of law. Sorry, guys, I got to get to a break here. I'm running out of time. Patrice Lee, Onwuka, and Andy No, appreciate your time here on this January 6th, 1 year later.